Hello and welcome to Blythe Business News. For this edition, we're welcoming back a regular visitor, Richard Williams, who's Chief Executive of Cornish Metals. Cornish Metals, listed in London and also on the Toronto Stock Exchange, the TSXV, a ticker of CUSN, copper and tin, see what he did there, and a market capitalisation of around £79 million sterling. Cornish Metals is redeveloping the South Crofty tin mine as its principal asset down in Cornwall. Richard, welcome back on the show. There have been some major developments going on at South Crofty. First of all, give us a quick update of the construction of the water treatment plant, the timelines then for starting dewatering.
Yeah, morning, Tim. Thanks for having me back. Yeah, it's been a very exciting year for Cornish Metals. Anybody familiar with the company and the project will recall that we raised £40 million in May. We had a very significant investment from a metals fund called Vision Blue Resources, which is headed by Sir Mick Davis, obviously very well known for his leadership of Xstrata. And that really validated the project and what we've been trying to achieve over the last few years. I think there's a recognition of the importance of tin to this whole energy transition and the technology world that we're entering into. So since we raised that money, we've grown the team substantially. We've commenced construction of the water treatment plant that you alluded to. And the plan is to have that built, constructed, commissioned, and ready to start dewatering the mine by the middle of next year.
So that's great. You're moving forward with the main part of the mine, but you're also doing some drilling on site, aren't you? So what are you hoping for from the results of this drilling?
Yeah, so part of the financing was to fund the feasibility study at South Crofty, and it's a slightly different feasibility study to most, from the point of view that South Crofty was an operating tin mine for almost 100 years, and before that, it was an operating copper mine for 300 years. So, we're already comfortable with the geology and the recoverability of the tin. But the drill program right now is to collect samples for ore sorting amenability. So there's been huge advances in ore sorting technology over the last 10, 15 years, and we believe that South Crofty would be amenable to that. And what that means is that we can reject a lot of the waste before it goes into the mill, which means that the mill size is going to be smaller, the power consumption is going to be less, and it all means lower costs and more profitability for the operation. So we have 3 drill rigs operating currently, testing the main sections of the current mineral resource estimate that we would envisage mining in the first 5 to 7 years of the mine life, to characterize the ore, to make sure that we've got the whole setup for ore sorting set up properly. Also to do studies on paste backfill, because we will be looking to put the tailings into the void space underground, and obviously refining the whole metallurgical process. So that's ongoing. We've got 2 rigs drilling on surface, 1 drilling underground from what we call the Western Decline. And that program should be complete in Q1 next year.
Okay. Now, you've also been busy in increasing your mineral rights. I think you've just signed a new mineral license right next to South Crofty. What was the thinking behind that?
Well, we've looked at a number of opportunities in the tin space, and we keep coming back to the recognition that Cornwall is a world-class tin district. And the best place to find new resources are probably right next to the old mine. And in the area on the southern boundary of the property, it's a historic mining district called the Great Flat Lode. There were multiple mines over a distance of about 5 kilometers. And we have some mineral rights ourselves on the southern boundary of our mine permission area. And there was one gap where we entered into an agreement with a company called Roski Minerals, which now gives us control over what we think is a 4.5 kilometer long area that is prospective not only for sections of the Great Flat Lode, but there was a structure inferred to exist parallel to and beneath the Great Flat Lode called the Wide Formation. This was drilled very in a limited way in the 1960s, where the drilling encountered a very wide zone of the style of alteration and mineralization that you'd associated with tin mineralization at South Crofty. It's never been drilled, it's never been explored, so that gives us a really exciting new exploration target to go after.
All right. Finally, I'm going to give you a two-part question. We're sitting here in December, we're coming towards the end of the year. Look back and tell me, for you personally, what were the two big highlights of the year, and then looking forward into 2023, what's in store for the company?
Well, I think the highlight for us was obviously raising that money in May, really transformed the company and gave the South Crofty project a huge boost. And you can feel it in the community down in Camborne and Poole, where the local residents, the community support we've received from day one has always been positive, but there's always been a level of, I'll believe it when I see it. And now to see the activity on site, we've just received actually the first delivery of one of the big clarifying tanks for the water treatment plant. We've poured the concrete pad, we've put in the pipelines from the shaft to the water treatment plant. So there's a lot of activity there. We've grown the team significantly. So it's just wonderful to see the project moving ahead. So I think that's the highlight for us. For next year, clearly commissioning the water treatment plant, turning the pumps on, starting to dewater the mine would be a very significant milestone for the project. The UK government publishing its critical minerals list earlier this year, which included tin, was also, I think, a significant milestone for what we're trying to do in the UK.
Okay, Richard, well, we wish you luck with that. Congratulations on everything you achieved this year. That was Richard Williams, Chief Executive of Cornish Metals, taking us through the highlights of the developments this year at South Crofty in Cornwall, and looking forward to next year. That's it from this edition of Blythe Ray Business News. Thanks for watching.